One morning in June, some 20 years ago, I was born a rich man's son. I had everything that money could buy, but freedom I had none. I've been looking for freedom. I've been looking so long. I've been looking for freedom. Still the search goes on. I've been looking for freedom since I left my hometown. I've been looking for freedom. Still it can't be found. I headed down the track, my baggage on my back. I left the city far behind. Walking down that road with my heavy load, trying to find some peace of mind. Father said, you'll be sorry, son, if you leave your home this way. And when you realize the freedom money buys, you'll come running home someday. I've been looking for freedom.
Hello, and welcome to the Real Unknown Cinema Podcast. I'm your host, Shane, and with me, as always, the retired co-host who's now the special guest star on every single episode, Kyle.
Hi!
And with us once again is our on-again, off-again co-host, Isabel.
Hey.
And in honor of this week's episode, we will do 5 more introductions with us doing different roles in the co-host-host dynamic. Because this week, we're keeping on the Wachowski month, keeping on the Wachowski train. We've gone over the peak, and now we're in the second half. We're going right after their movie after Speed Racer. We're going. Flat Alice. We're going. Yeah, Flat Alice. You got something in your teeth?
I do.
Probably some chicken. Some chicken.
Thanks for saying that in front.
You're welcome. Because we literally just watched this movie, like 5 minutes, finished watching it like 5 minutes ago. So, I was fucking around with the audio on something.
Did I get it?
Yes. So we all, because Kyle owns it, we all watched it at Kyle's house together. We all had a fun little screening. What are you doing? Okay. We got some.
They don't know.
We got some snacks. We got some chips. We had some chicken. We had.
Luckily, they
beer.
managed to eat it all before the show, so now there's not much.
No, we still got some chips, bro. Here, crunch. Do a crunch in the mic. Let's go old school. Let's get up.
You gotta get like right up next to the mic.
Just don't, please don't.
Let's say SMR.
Some good content.
Anyway, so we're talking about Cloud Atlas, the actual best movie ever made. So
Yes.
this is a movie that I remember Kyle pitching to me multiple times, being like, "Oh, it's super good, super good." I'm like, I don't know. Because I remember when the trailers were coming out, I was like, this looks
It
weird.
looks like garbage.
Yeah. So.
And I didn't see it based on the trailers.
Uh-huh.
I ended up seeing it just like in 2014 or 2015. Just
Okay.
like randomly there was a screening at a movie theater.
Oh, nice.
So we went because it was a Wachowski movie and we hadn't seen it.
Sure.
And it ended up being way better than I thought it was
Yeah.
going to be. So.
Yeah. Because I remember you specifically talking about the scene where the guy gets thrown out the window.
Yeah,
And-
right. This movie goes from like PG-13 to R like
real
quickly,
fast.
Yeah.
Because so you saw it at a re-release. I then saw it after he was telling me about it. I think we watched it off the same DVD copy because I think you brought the movie. We all went to Matt's old house and we watched it in his living room. It was me, you, and Matt. We all
Just like
watched it
John
together.
Wick, except I didn't.
Except you fell asleep and Jack wasn't there. So, and then this is the first time You've watched this movie.
Yes.
You
So-
should say who you is, because they can't see you pointing.
Isabel.
Isabel.
There you
Well, there have been 2 people who've already talked about how
I
they've seen this
understand that.
movie.
It's still better to state the names.
Alright. Makes great audio.
Thanks.
So this is the first time you've seen this movie, Isabel.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to. We got chicken, which was good, but I kind of wanted to. Chicken. I wanted to kind of reenact when we and Matt saw it, because that was the times when we were doing. We'd all get together. We'd we'd do a game night. So what I would do is I'd convince my dad to buy us a 12-pack of Taco Bell tacos.
And then you eat all 12 of them.
Not just that, also a large pack of wedges, because I'm like, everybody loves them. We'll all get a bunch of tacos. We all eat tacos. And then I just sit there, and I just would eat the tacos and eat the wedges all by myself.
Yeah.
And I got through the entire box of tacos and wedges in this movie. I remember that specifically. I got through all of them. So,
Nice.
those were the days.
To be fair, you get 2.5 hours.
More like 3, but... So, first thoughts. Who would like to... Who wants to go first? Kyle? I vote Kyle. Let's go Kyle.
Oh, okay.
How many times have you seen this movie now?
3.
Okay.
Fucking Ethan Klein over here.
You okay?
Do you want, like, my impressions from this time watching it, or just, like...
Let's go each time you've watched it.
Okay, so the first time I saw it, I had no idea what I was gonna see.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty... it was a very unique movie.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly didn't expect it.
Yes.
I was surprised by how violent it got.
Uh-huh.
And by, how many times the actors reoccurred
Sure.
in the movie. And seeing the thing at the end where it shows you all the roles they played was really crazy. Because I didn't recognize a lot of them.
Yeah.
Especially the first time through.
Uh-huh.
But I really enjoyed it the first time I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Thought it was really interesting and unique.
Yeah.
Just like a cool idea for a story.
Uh-huh.
And then for some reason never read the book.
Yeah. No, I haven't read the book. I'm assuming you haven't read the book, Isabel.
No.
Okay. Alright, so that's your first impression.
Yeah,
So
I mean, in general, that's going to be my impression every time
Okay.
I watch it, is that I
there's
still
no
like
big
it.
difference second and third time? Alright, then I'll go...
Except Hugo Weaving looks more and more like Spock every time.
Yeah. So the first time I watched it, I was really blown away. I was not, much like you, I think not expecting is a really good way of putting it, because especially after the trailers, you're like, what is this? So really going in, you're like, okay, this is what this is. And I think at the time, I'd seen Speed Racer, and I'd seen The Matrix, but I wasn't really... This is the movie that kind of made me think of the Wachowskis as filmmakers, kind of. Like, before that, I was like, it's the people who made The Matrix, and, like, not really thinking beyond that. Oh my god. We're just gonna have to edit this out.
It's like
thanks
when
to
I
you.
went to see Madame Butterfly.
Yeah?
I was really sick, and we sat in the front row. I fell asleep halfway through because I was just like
Nice.
dying.
Was it... So was that...
Opera.
The opera, okay. Anyway, this is the movie where I was really, like, starting to think of, like, them as filmmakers. And I think through this journey of watching most of their films in order, I am definitely seeing them... You definitely see kind of... You see the similarities, but you also really see the differences. And I think that's what's really impressive about them as filmmakers, is that these are 3 incredibly different films, especially going from Speed Racer to this. Like, very, very different. In fact, probably Susan Sarandon is probably the only main thing that carries over from both of them. But I think this film, is really amazing. I think talking about, like, genuinely underrated films, especially after what this film got when it came out, I think this film is incredibly underrated, because I think this is a film that I think everyone should see this film. I think everyone should see this film of just Not even like if you like filmmaking, you should watch this film. But I just think everyone should see this movie. And I think the fact that so many people didn't see it, and people who did see it, shat on it, I think is really kind of disappointing.
Just like Scott Pilgrim.
Just
Rest
like
in
Scott.
peace.
But at least Scott Pilgrim has kind of a cult following. Like, I don't really feel like this film does.
No.
Like, even Speed Racer kind of has a very vocal minority of people hailing it as, like, high art. But this film, I
just
think...
don't hear anyone say anything about
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Like, this film, I think, is really... Just no one talks about it. They're just like, oh, whatever. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong places, but I really do feel like no one really talks about this movie, which is definitely why this film specifically, I always wanted to talk about on Real Unknown. Because... And this actually might be... This might be one of the first films that... I think so, yeah. This is probably the first film that, like, we're talking about that we kind of have a history with.
Mm-hmm.
I think up until and that's kind of what made me want to do this podcast, was talking about those sort of films, the films we would watch with, like, you, me, and Matt, and, like, Jack, like, kind of on our own time. And this is one of them, and this, I think, is the first one that I really kind of was seeding the idea of, like, why is no one talking about this film? Why is this not as popular as it should be? And
Just like Bronson.
Just like Bronson. Exactly. But anyway, Isabel, this is the first time you've watched it. What are your thoughts?
Can I pass?
No. Sorry, that's not how this works. No, go ahead. How do you feel?
Was
Uh-huh. Go! Say!
I was underwhelmed.
Wow, okay. Yeah? Keep
Mostly-
going. Why? Why were you underwhelmed?
Well, I think that when you're jamming that many stories into one movie, things can kind of get lost and muddled, and none of the stories ever feel resolved.
Uh-huh.
And,
No, keep going.
I have to say, you know, I personally have a little bit of a thing with 3-hour-long movies. Of like, okay, it's gonna be 3 hours, then every single minute needs to be really earned. I don't know. I kind of was starting to lose track of what was happening because so much was happening.
Uh-huh.
I didn't hate it.
Uh-huh.
I guess, like, and I did really like the characters getting kind of, like, all of the actors kind of being recycled and used in, like, a bunch of different ways, because you don't see that a lot, and like, having all of them play vastly different characters was really, really cool. I guess, at the end of the day, I don't really know what Cloud Atlas was about, or, like, I don't know. They were kind of connected, but none of the stories really had a lot to do with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's my hot take on that.
It really is like H3. It's like old H3.
Yeah.
So actually, this brings up an interesting thing that I could think of that is different about Furby for watching it later times. I think if you've seen the movie before and you know everything that happens in it already, it makes it a lot easier to find all the parts where they are connected.
Yeah.
Because the first time I watched it, I was like, that I had a very similar thought when I saw it the first time, because I was like, the only parts that are connected are that they see these stories, like, in a book or a movie or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but other than that, it's not really all there. But, like, this time when I was watching it through, because I've seen the movie before, I don't have to focus on what's happening, because I've seen the stories all the way through. It's, like, you can focus a lot more on, like, theming of the stories, which is what ends up making them similar.
Yeah.
It doesn't end up really being about, at least for me, it's not about, like, the characters, like, repeating as much as it is about all 6 of these stories have the same theming of, like, something forbidden, trying to gain independence, things like that.
Yeah.
I
think there's a very strong theme of kind of, like, failure in all of these, really. I think there's a very strong theme of kind of, like, inevitability and not kind of succeeding.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, I think to certain extents, all of them kind of fail. Not, I think really, I guess the 70s story like has a pretty happy ending. But all of them to a certain extent, I think, kind of have not great endings. A lot of them are pretty bittersweet, honestly. Mm-hmm. And I guess for people who don't know, this movie, Cloud Atlas, is essentially. Do we need to take a break? I'm not even being mean, but like if you can't talk. Are you okay? Do you need a tissue? Did that come up on the audio? Because I hope it did. Or is an alien gonna come out of your chest?
Just keep going. Just keep talking. I'm here.
Just keep rolling. It's all good. Just keep rolling.
Oh my god. Anyway, while our co-host dies...
Can I drop a meme on you?
Yes, drop a meme on me,
To be
please.
fair, you have to have a pretty high IQ to understand Cloud Atlas.
You have to have a pretty high IQ. I was actually going to say, since we didn't really get a good sound test meme to put at the end, I think for the end I am going to put, since you brought up Rick and Morty, there is a Cloud Atlas joke in a Rick and Morty episode, so I think I'm going to put that at the end.
You should put a coughing compilation.
But no, what was I saying? Yeah, I agree with that. Because I think the first time I saw it, I was definitely like you. Stop.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying is, at this point, it's been a long time since I've first seen it. I've seen it so many times that I already, like, I guess it's just to the point where I'll accept its faults, in a sense.
Yeah, I don't even think its faults are really...
But, like, I'm trying to think back on how I felt the first time I saw it. And I think I was, I really enjoyed it, but at the same time, I wished there was more, and I feel like I end up not wishing that on repeat watchings because I guess I see more what they were aiming for.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the first time definitely... I mean, I enjoyed it, but it did leave me with kind of not even a that's it, but kind of like a huh?
Yeah, it's like disconnected feel.
Yeah, and because you are expecting... You've seen trailers for this, right?
No.
Okay. So you are kind of expecting them to kind of...
Y'all converge.
And you are kind of expecting, like, them to have more direct impact with each other, because it is kind of... It is an anthology film, but it isn't really paced like one. They're all I guess, what I was saying. Cloud Atlas is an anthology film where it's 6 stories. One takes place in, like, the 1800s, where it's this guy on a boat and he's sick. One takes place in the, like, early 19th century, where it's this gay guy...
20th century.
20th century, excuse me. Where it's this gay guy... composer, with this older composer trying to, like, write music. One is in the 70s in San Francisco, where it's Halle Berry is a journalist and she's uncovering this plot. One is in 2012, when Jim Broadbent gets in trouble with the mob. So
completely unrelated, to be honest.
He gets trapped in this old folks' home. One is in the not too distant future of New Soul, where...
it's pretty distant. It's like 2114 or something.
That's like 100 years in the future.
Yeah.
Where this... because each of them kind of do 100... Except the 70s and 2012. Each of them do kind of 100-year jump-ish. Where this clone android waitress...
A
replicant, essentially, like, gets...
yeah, I was confused. Is she, like, a human or not?
She is... She's not a cyborg, but I think she is kind of, like...
They're tank grown.
Bred, I guess. Like, I think she is kind of, like... She's, I guess, just a slave, essentially, is...
Yeah, they made a slave race.
Yeah.
Of just like other humans.
Yeah.
They've just genetically modified it to be the same person, basically, and they do all the work.
Yeah, so then it's a slave working at a restaurant, kind of breaks free and gets realizes the dark future she lives in, and then in the far, far future, after the apocalypse, Tom Hanks is on an island, and Halle Berry shows up, and some shit goes down. So those are the 6 stories. And each story in itself is only about a little less than a half hour each. But unlike an anthology film where it's like one story, then the next, then the next, these all happen at the same time. Which is what makes you think, oh, these are gonna interlace in some way. And I think, like, I don't know about you, but I think one thing I know when I was watching it initially, I was kind of expecting, like, a big twist. Kind of like the, oh shit, like, this is why it's all like this, like, kind of twist. Yeah. And it really doesn't do that.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Really, all of these stories are relatively unrelated to each other, at least at, like, kind of on the surface level.
Okay, if we, like, I want to see someone do a thing where they, like, it's like Cloud Atlas, but it's all the stories, and you cut it so that it's one story, then one story.
Cut it linearly?
Yeah, cut it linearly, just to see.
Why?
Just,
I've thought about, like, how hard would it be to edit Cloud Atlas into 6 short stories.
If you had, from the film itself, it would be possible, but a little chunky.
Here's my thing.
Yes.
Is if we edit the stories all together, and so you watch the story linearly, how much of it would still make sense? Like, would it make sense still?
I think
the
so.
stories still make sense?
I think they would make sense, but
they all kind of feel a little bit half-cooked, in my personal opinion. Or, like, sometimes it felt like a story was getting neglected for a while, and then they would just kind of be like, oh shit, we forgot about this one!
I've never read it, but I believe the way it's originally written is in chronological order, and it tells the first half of each story and then the second half. So it starts with the slave story and tells that halfway through. And does that with all of them, and when it gets to the fall, it finishes the fall story and then goes in reverse order.
Reverse order.
And you
cool.
end with the thing,
Yeah. Cool, but also, like, I think what they did is much better in this film.
Well, for a movie.
For a movie, well, no, I think
I don't know if you could really write a book that's like the movie Cloud Atlas.
No, you couldn't. You'd have to, like, readapt it, essentially.
It'd be like chapters. It'd be like very brief chapters.
But you couldn't do it exactly the same, which I think is why this is a movie instead of a book.
Right.
But I think their choice to do that is actually a little better, because I think, I don't know, I think especially this time, and again, it's probably what Kyle says of, like, here, can you actually close the door?
Yeah.
I think what Kyle says of kind of already knowing what to expect, everything that happens in it, I don't know, felt very smooth to me. Everything that happens in it kind of feels almost more impactful when happening with something else. Like, I feel like they kind of show, and I think in a book maybe those like mirrors are still there, but you kind of have to pick up on them on remembering.
Right.
I think
it's not as thematic to have someone talking about being a prisoner and have all of those stories be in that place at the same time.
Yeah. So it's a lot. I think it amplifies kind of its, and you say theming, it amplifies its theming by having them kind of happen all at the same time.
Yeah.
And it amplifies its, and I will admit, I can see, yes, how there are places where it sometimes a lot is happening at once, and you're like, what about this? And it does. 6 stories is a lot. And, like, because usually with an anthology, like, it's like 3 or 4 stories or something. 6 stories, that's a lot to put in one feature film. But I think, I don't know, I think it pulls it off. I think it pulls it off pretty well. I think that the kind of overlapping of everything feels very natural, almost because it does make, even though they're unrelated, it makes you feel like you're taking them in all at once, instead of just taking them in one at a time.
Yeah.
And I think taking them in one at a time would be a lot more boring.
Yeah.
Of just...
Well, it would feel like you're watching the same story 6 times.
Exactly.
Exactly. They're the exact same thing in different settings.
So...
Is there something that Halle Berry says where she's like, why do we keep repeating the same mistakes over and over and over and over again? But what are the mistakes that they keep repeating?
Well, I think it's kind of...
What did the people keep... I don't know.
I think that's more like on a human level.
Yeah.
Than like as a species, not necessarily as the main characters.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, because I thought that was like a writing thing of like, oh, like we're all like, I thought that was like a foreshadowing thing
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
that like they were doing, but then I was like, well, what mistakes do they all make
Mhm.
that are all in common? Because that's what I thought like the through line was gonna be.
Like the Modest Mouse song says, "Well, we make the same mistakes."
Get out of here.
I guess. Yeah, I don't think it's mistakes literally. I think it's more like just. You're really dabbing up a storm here. I gotta admit.
This movie's very metaphorical. It's high art, so.
Well, I mean, it's hard to talk about this film. I think this film. What are you doing? Are you okay? I think this film can definitely be considered pretentious. Is the thing. I think this
Really?
film can be easily considered very pretentious, but I think it's hard to talk about it without sounding pretentious to a certain
It's
extent.
like Braid,
Am
Yeah.
I the only one who thought
except it's actually good.
Hey.
it looked so much, like digital. Like, when was this movie made?
2012.
2012. It reminds me so much of like the early kind of digital action movies from the mid 2000s, so,
Like Speed Racer.
No, Transformers reminded me a lot of Transformers because like the
What?
oranginess that a lot of the characters had of like the digital color correction.
Okay,
You made the Trump.
He's like, how do I say this while still being nice?
I can see kind of the way the colors look in the film.
I don't know. They all looked really saturated.
It was it's very much kind of the colors of that time. But at the same time, I feel like this film kind of goes beyond that in kind of having a much more bigger spectrum of color to it than just like a few colors. Like, I feel like a lot of blockbusters, especially of like 2012 and a little bit onward, kind of got very much in like one or two colors.
Think about it this way.
Yes.
The 30-minute Blade Runner sequence in this movie is better than both Blade Runner movies combined.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah.
It's the Blade Runner sequence.
Just
which
all
which
Neo's
one?
soul.
Which one do you think would be the Blade Runner? It's the one on the ship in the 1800s.
It's the one where he's trying to escape from the old folks. Home.
Yeah.
It's 1970s Halle Berry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Blade Runner one. Because Keith David is the Blade Runner. I don't know.
Like, honestly,
Yeah.
a short story set in a generic future city, it's better than anything in Blade Runner.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's just like, really,
Yeah.
it's not that hard to make a good sci-fi movie. Like,
Well, we're on the topic of New Soul.
Yes.
Should we talk about the yellow phase?
Well, now that you've brought it up, we kind of can't not talk about it.
Sorry.
we're
So,
gonna have to talk about it at some point.
there is one thing that this film did get very recognized for.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if recognized might be the right word, but talked about, I guess. One thing that this film...
Still knock something off. It's impressive.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Okay.
Double trouble.
There's one...
I'm a walking storm.
You're walking
Don't
something.
fuck with me.
There's one thing in this film that everyone talks about, and that is the fact that there are multiple white actors in this movie who wear makeup to make them appear Korean. This is most prominent in the New Soul future story, but yeah, that's the one thing that people kind of called this movie out for, because it is kind of using yellowface. But I think, Kyle, you are the best one to kind of...
Now you're gonna make me the racist? Great.
No, but you've talked about this the most,
Yeah.
and I think you can put it into the best words.
Okay, first off, I want to see this.
Yes.
The Hugo Weaving makeup is bad.
Okay.
It's I think it's the only makeup that really bothered me in this movie. Was Hugo Weaving looks terrible in that Neo Soul storyline.
Yeah.
He seriously looks like a Vulcan.
He does, yeah.
It's I think so, like, all of the what do they call them, fabricants?
I
think that's the name
maybe.
of the all the like clone slave people.
Mhm.
They're not all the same person, but
No.
there are a few people
Yeah.
like modeled over and over again,
Mhm.
and they're all at least Asian, I'm assuming Korean, but at least Asian actors.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the people who are like, live above ground.
Yeah.
Are white actors from other parts of the movie recast.
Yes.
Because most of the cast of the movie is white.
Uh-huh.
And so, I don't want to sit here and try and justify it, because it just makes me sound like an idiot.
Look, just say it, and I'll
basically,
back you up.
my idea is that all of the people that we run into in Neo Soul have this same facial structure. This, like, most of their face is, like, a European face style, but, like, their eyes and, like, cheek structure is more Asian.
Yes.
And so, if every character we see looks like that,
yeah,
all I can believe is that everyone in this world kind of looks like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the only people we see who don't look like that are the replicants.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't really see
with the exception of the lady who kills people. She's just some random white lady.
Which lady who killed? Oh, yeah.
Like,
Isn't that Susan Sarandon that time?
It might be. I don't know. And the doctor.
Well, the
doctor just looks weird. I don't know.
Halle Berry. And I think if you're really talking Blade Runner, they tried to model the guy who did the eyes in Blade Runner. I only do eyes.
Yeah.
Just do eyes. Like, that guy kind of, she looks like. But no, I mean, the basic reason to justify the yellow face is that, and I think this is what you guys were talking about when I was in the bathroom, is that the whole point of this movie is that it's the same actors in every single storyline. So if you have a storyline that takes place only in Seoul, you're gonna need, and you're gonna use all those actors again. It would kind of be awkward if there was just a bunch of, like, white and black actors showing up in Seoul and just being like...
Because then you end up being Ghost in the Shell.
Exactly.
And it's still weird.
Exactly. So...
Well, that's the other thing, is Keith David also has it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why, to me, it's like, it seems... Because he still looks like Keith David.
Yeah.
But his eyes and his cheeks are, like, slightly different.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this is just what future people look like, I guess.
Because they don't... When you and it is makeup, so you can only maybe look so good, but it's not... It doesn't look like... It almost kind of doesn't look like they are trying to even make them look Korean.
Because they don't change that much of their face.
No, they don't.
And if they wanted to, they could. Because there are multiple times where... It's not like they're trying to make sure you recognize an actor every time.
Exactly.
There are a lot of times in this movie where you're like, I had no idea this was... I thought that was an extra.
Yeah, exactly. Like Duna Bay in the 70s one. Like,
right.
Except...
Yeah, right.
Like, that one... I think that would be what everyone would look like if they wanted to actually everyone be just straight up Korean.
They would all look Korean.
They would all just look Korean, or at least more caked in makeup.
Because that one, I mean, you don't know, you really can't tell it's Duna Bay.
No, you really don't.
Especially because she's speaking Spanish the entire time. You're like, oh, great, so, okay.
Yeah.
Sure, you can do that? Okay.
Yeah. I think you are right, that it is kind of trying to be this future kind of look to it. And I think, I mean, yes.
I'm not going to justify it, but I'm going to explain my reasoning.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is that it's hard to justify, and I hate the people who are like, in any other situation this would be wrong, but in this situation it's fine, when talking about, like, making a racist joke or something. But I mean, I can't really think of how you could do what you were doing without this, kind of. I guess you would just have to change the location. You'd have to make it in, like, Europe or something.
Well, the argument there would be to not make it at all, right?
Yeah. So I don't know.
You get stuck in a tough place.
Yeah.
When you build it like that.
What do you say?
Well, people, the argument that Andy and, well, like now Lana and Lily, they made was that the film transcends race and gender and whatever, and it's about humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it's like, I don't know how you... like, I guess, yeah, like, the argument would be just not to make the movie, because a lot of people were saying you should have cast Asian actors, but I don't know. I think that I just know that doing Yellowface was probably the wrong choice.
Mm-hmm.
Especially kind of just, like, it's, like, really, like, they all looked really fucked. Like,
well, exactly. I mean, that's the
everyone
thing,
looked
is that...
so fucked.
But they don't. It's not like they've got huge lips and stuff. It's not like what racist blackface looks like. They look weird, not in a way that's like, oh, they look like a Tintin cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
They look weird like that almost doesn't look like a human.
Yeah.
You know, like their face looks weird. They look like aliens.
Mm-hmm.
I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean...
Junpei does look weird as that guy's wife.
Yeah, I didn't notice that the first time.
Oh, really?
No,
She's got a really wide face.
Yeah,
it
she
just
does.
looks weird.
I guess the only thing you could have really done is just not had the, like, carryover actor thing. I feel like that would have kind of lost a little more of the effect of the kind of everything happening again and again thing. But...
Or it could have just taken place in I don't know. It could have taken place in a world where, like, it is, I don't know. Like, just like imagining, like, in a world post-Hamilton, like, you could have done it maybe with, like, and not had the makeup happen, and then just had all of the actors kind of, at least don't race swap them.
Yeah. You could have just,
and, like, everyone gets race swapped in this movie, and
Mm-hmm.
it all looks weird.
You get white Halle Berry.
Yeah, you get white Halle Berry, you get white, what's her name?
White Duna Bay. You don't get white Keith David, unfortunately.
No.
That would be amazing.
How would you even do that?
What if Keith David had been white in the 70s storyline? That would have made it so much better. Can you imagine?
Again, I guess, like, maybe
His
just,
voice
like,
is the same, though.
Yeah.
maybe just not do race swapping, and then just have the characters kind of exist in the
I don't think
universes.
there's any way they could have done this and not gotten flack. Because if they changed the setting, people would have said it was racist.
Uh-huh.
If they didn't do makeup, people would have said it's racist.
Mm-hmm.
They did do makeup, people said it's racist. I think just by its very nature, it ends up being offensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I literally don't think they could have made the movie the way they did and not have had
I
that
think,
been
the
offensive.
only way to do it was just not have the actors carry over.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
So.
I can support and get behind.
Uh-huh.
Even though it does kind of lose, like, the novelty of it.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe, I don't know, have the characters reappear not as the main characters, but as, like, kind of more background characters in the other people's stories.
Yeah, you could have maybe at least had the main two who were doing face maybe actually be Korean. Like, you could have had, who was it? Fucking Jim Sturgis and,
James Darcy.
yeah. You could have had those two, maybe. You could have maybe
Hugo
just...
Weaving, though.
You
We need
keep
that
Hugo
in
Weaving.
there.
You
So
could've-
weird.
You could have maybe had one of them, like the guy doing the interview, maybe just be white, and then maybe you could have done it actually as a Korean actor, and then just had him be in the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the most way you could have done it without changing as much. Like, if we had to go back 1984 style and, like, re-edit this, like, reshoot it and everything, I think that's probably what you could have done and have it be as closest to what it was now. Because I think that's the one, because that's the main ones you're seeing. Everyone else is kind of, like, very quickly just, oh, well, that's weird. Like, you only see Keith David for a scene. You only really see Hugo Weaving for one scene, and there's a little bit at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Almost it's not even that many characters in that story, even. Like,
No.
you could have done, maybe, something like that. I think, yeah. But... And yeah, maybe they should have. And I think maybe if you... I think you probably could have at least... I think you are right that they're probably... No matter how this would have done, it would have kind of come off as a little, like, not okay. But I think maybe if you had tweaked it... Maybe if they had tweaked it a little bit, they could have maybe gotten away with it a little more.
In any case,
Uh-huh.
I definitely don't think it was intended to be racist in any sense.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they were like, I
you
hope
know,
it...
that doesn't lessen
No,
Yeah.
of course
the
not.
fact of
But
it being racist.
Mhm.
Like, it is harmful and it is I thought it was offensive.
Mhm.
And, you know, I'm glad that people were calling them out for it. But I just don't know any way that you could have, like, I think that the only way that you could have done it is just not have the actors carry over. Like, have every single storyline kind of be contained.
I just said how you could have done it differently.
Sorry, I
You're
was...
not even... Wow, okay.
I don't know, I'm
see how it is.
I'm trying to get some other perspectives on, like,
Uh-huh.
what people thought of the movie.
What are other perspectives?
There's not a whole lot of articles or whatever about Cloud Atlas.
No.
Because nobody saw it.
No one saw it. Like,
No
that's
one
the
saw
thing.
it. There's
And I
one
mean,
of,
that's
like,
the
the
thing of,
Daily
like-
Mail. There's one, like, opinion piece on the Huffington Post. There's one that's, like, about, like, but no, there's no real discussion happening about
No.
Cloud Atlas.
No.
And, the person who thought Cloud Atlas was extremely offensive was like, I'm gonna make Cloud Atlas the movie I never see. But I don't know.
Had they seen it, or were
No,
they just going off... So they're just going off of, like, knowing stuff.
They were
Okay.
going off of, like, trailers and, like, whatever.
Okay.
You don't have to boycott that one. It already failed.
Yeah, like... if anything, you actually had a very great effect on not going to it, so I hope that makes you feel better.
I guess, like, it's hard for me to sit here and praise that movie to praise this movie when it has, like, a lot of really offensive, you know, like, the new Soul stuff is really offensive, like, in my personal viewpoint, and, like, I'm talking as, like, a person of privilege. I just think that that's really fucked up, the way that they did it. Like, I think the Yellowface was really not needed. Like, and, like, you know, it could have been... I don't know, it could have been a way for them to cast 8 more Asian actors and Asian, like, Asian male leading
Sure.
roles. And,
Sure.
like, I don't know.
Like, I think you could have done it at least with, the other lead. I think that could have been... You could have had that been an Asian person. I think that one wouldn't have been
'Cause
too
I
hard.
think,
Yes?
I don't know, I think in the book they are all self-contained, right?
Well,
yeah,
in the
I
book,
mean,
but-
they're not all the
the-
same character in
yeah.
the book because it's written.
Yeah, in
There's
the
no
book,
pictures
you
or
can't
anything.
Like, I
have
just
actors...
think the biggest I think the biggest downfall was, like, we're gonna use the same actors over and over and over again, which is a really cool idea. It is a really, really cool idea, and, like, it was fun seeing, like, all of the characters kind of portrayed in different ways. But, I don't know.
I mean, they should have done the other lead at least, because there aren't that many characters who even were doing it. So, they could have, at least with one more actor, they could have put him in the other ones, I think, and that wouldn't have been too hard. And I think if that was the case, and maybe you just would have left the interviewer to be white, or even, like, I don't know, like a robot or something, like, that probably could have...
What if it was, like, a robot voiced by the guy?
Sure,
I don't
yeah.
know. I
Like,
don't know.
that could have probably have them gotten away with it a lot more.
Here's one for you.
Yes.
What if they were all played by Korean actors, but
Uh-huh.
it was all dubbed over by the other actors?
That would have been weird.
That would fuck with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no, it's not great. I mean, it isn't great. And, I mean, I think they maybe could have done a better job of, if it was supposed to be, like, future race, they could have maybe done a better job of making that clear, I guess.
Right.
Because there are little, like, in the back... But I guess the thing, too, is, I mean, a lot of all of these stories isn't so much about, like, showing world building, and it's more about just seeing, like, a day in the life of all of these characters. Because I think most of these stories, like, I guess the one in the boat, it's a little unclear how long it goes on for. Same with the composers. But I think most of these stories happen over the course of just a couple of days to a week. Like, most of these stories are pretty like short, so I think most of the stories are more so about just seeing these brief moments in history. And I think if they had maybe done a little further to world building, because there are little inklings of like, oh, we don't use this type of speak or this and that, like, and maybe in the book that's a little clearer if that is a thing, but yeah, they could have maybe done a little better of a job to be like, this is a future race, because that's an interesting concept. Like, you don't see that in a lot of movies of like a future race. Like that could be cool, but you would have to like go on to establish that.
And it also becomes confusing when the storyline that takes place after that, the people on the ships look completely different as well.
Yeah.
They could just be from a different part of the world at that time, I guess.
Yeah.
But pretty much everyone on who's on the ship is like a minority, and all the Valley's men are like white people.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the most part.
For the most part, yeah. Yeah, like it's interesting, and like with that last one especially, with the future ones especially, like with the, like, we know history, so we know, like, especially like we know the context to a lot of like very small moments. We understand that they're bigger because of the history around them, and we know like modern day and stuff. But like the future ones are the ones that they don't, and I appreciate that they don't try to talk slower to the audience to establish the worlds, but at the same time, it does kind of then leave a little. I can then also understand why people would maybe be like, what you were saying before, of kind of feeling like there wasn't more.
Right.
Being like,
because no one's like the fish out of water character. You know?
Exactly.
There's
well, I guess
no
the
McFly
Duna Bay kind of is, but
she
not
still lived in that world. She
Yeah.
still knows how things function.
Yeah.
She's just never been above ground.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's not. I'm gonna have a root beer. It's not the best. What time are we at? Because I can't
45.
see. 45? Alright. Any other thoughts, or are you just reading articles?
Well, I'm just trying to... I don't know.
I'm gonna try not to. We knew this was coming. We knew we would have to talk about this at some point. We've been talking since the beginning of this entire thing that we were gonna have to talk about this.
Yeah,
so,
and it's important to talk about.
And we should. And I feel like, in the same way, I don't feel like, much like Speed Racer though, I don't feel like this movie gets brought up a lot when talking about, like, doing face. And I think that's mainly because I think the reason this is was so big to so many people was because this was in 2012. This is a recent film. Like, this isn't even like the 90s
it's not
or something.
Laurence Olivier.
No. It's not Laurence Olivier. It's not like the 1960s of like doing Breakfast at Tiffany's. Like,
that is tasteful blackface.
I mean, the only other
For
movie
those not aware, tasteful blackface is a joke. Please don't sue me.
The only other things I can think of that do face are both very much as jokes, and it's Tropic Thunder and Always Sunny.
Yeah.
Like, those are the only other two things that I can think of in recent memory.
That Juggalo kid just sitting in the principal's office next to Charlie is one of the funniest things.
Those are the only things I can think of recently that do face. I mean, maybe there's something. I'm sure there's another case of yellowface in like the past 10 years. Like, there definitely is, I'm sure. But I think right now whitewashing is a bigger kind of topic. But yeah, I don't know. And I think it really comes down to also, like, I mean, it's offensive, but like you said, it's not done to be. So I think maybe if it comes down to the fact that where Hollywood is now, and was back then, if there were more roles for Asian actors, this wouldn't been as big of a problem, I think. If, like, there were plenty of roles available for Asian actors, this wouldn't be a big deal. But at the end of the day, outside of, like, kind of the stereotyping and, like, kind of racial not okayness of it, really what it comes down to, both with whitewashing and doing something like this, is that you're taking the roles away from Asian actors and giving them to white actors who can very easily get roles anywhere else they want.
This is what I don't know. This kind of sums up what I think.
Yes.
This is what I would. So this is by racebending.com. I don't know what.
Sounds like a porn site.
I know,
It really does.
But I just want to. So it says, in watching the Cloud Atlas trailer, the parallels are clear. As with these other films, we see that white creators and performers are permitted to determine what it means to be Asian. It's frustrating because the trailer suggests a story that comfortably meshes with preconceptions and stereotypes of Asians in a futuristic world of high technology, little soul, where the all look same vision of Asianness is directly translated into racks of identical, interchangeable Asian fabricant clones. It suggests a world where white actors in yellowface and Asian actresses enter into romantic trysts while excluding the voices and faces of Asian American actors. So
Yeah,
I understand the message behind it. I would like to say everything the Wachowskis make that is sci-fi is very clearly inspired by Ghost in the Shell,
Yeah.
which is a Japanese thing. I would say probably most of the things that happen in this storyline are once again very similar to Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
So there are definitely problems with how they've handled it. I think that their writing of it was not intended to be... Their writing of it wasn't meant in any way to force a sameness as much as it is the like cyberpunk genre that like the subspecies that exists around Ghost in the Shell is based around that sameness. Where there are these very few characters who look different in a world that is very similar.
Well, I would say...
Go ahead.
I would say that, like... I don't know. I don't... Like, their argument that the Wachowskis used of, like, it wasn't, like... You should look at our intention rather than, like, or look what, like, beneath it. It just kind of feels like... It doesn't really matter what the intention was, but rather what the outcome was.
Yeah.
And the outcome was that.
Right.
You know.
Also, I would say what that says, it makes a good point. And I think you could say that, yes, it is... They are shown as being interchangeable. They are shown being in a very kind of stereotypical, silent, waiting kind of... That a lot of, like, the Asian-made kind of stereotype is. And the movie could have used that, and kind of does, to show that that's a bad thing. But the article also points out that the romance between Duna Bay and then the guy, that is the part where if that guy had been actually just also Asian, probably could have gone over a little better. Because yes, if you had all the villains be doing yellowface, that actually could have been maybe interesting. Still maybe not great, but if you had all the villain, you could have at least, maybe not yellowface, but at least you could have been making a message of, like, white people and, like, class and stuff. And you could have had maybe, if you had all the villains, not even do yellowface, but if you had all the villains just be white, that could have been interesting. You could have shown that, like, they were kind of controlling this all. But then you still have a person who's the hero also be doing that same thing. And that's where it gets a little not great.
Well, it's something that I bring up a lot about the difference between a villain motivation, the things a villain says in the movie, and the things that a director feels in a movie.
Yeah.
And I've talked a lot about how, theoretically, there's a divide there.
Yeah.
Very rarely do I see it.
Yes,
in Being John Malkovich, there's not a divide there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
in whatever that movie was, where with all the high school girls, it just doesn't feel. It feels like someone's just like all high school girls are thoughts. Confirmed, and it's like thanks.
Yeah, if they breathe.
So it really, I mean, it is really hard to say that somebody made something and doesn't somewhere believe it. You know.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
But it's rare.
It's rare. It's rare and it's hard because, like, even with what we were saying about Solo, where it's like the actions of not only this character but also what happens in the film kind of would suggest that to a certain extent this is what you believe.
Right.
So,
I have a hard time believing that Ron Howard
Yeah.
doesn't believe in what is
Yeah.
in that movie.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the same thing with stuff like Game of Thrones or something, where it's like especially in the framing, where it's framed even as bad, but not that bad, like, where that's when you're like, okay, if you really were taking this seriously and you really thought this was a bad thing, you would be framing this a lot worse than you are.
Or, Blade Runner.
Yeah, exactly.
The scene in Blade Runner where he rapes that girl, and
Yeah.
she's just in love with him for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, which is why it's very...
And people praise that movie insanely.
Yeah, yeah. And which is why it's very hard to believe that when people say, oh no, it's supposed to be a rape scene, it's supposed to be intentional, it's like, is it? I don't think that's what he thought when he made that movie.
No,
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
So... And I think with here, it could be very easy, yes, to see that that was what they meant. And that this is sort of their intention. And I think especially off of combining the double feature of this and then Speed Racer, it doesn't look great for them with having Asian, or lack thereof, actors. And, I mean... It's hard to defend it. It's really hard to defend it. Like, I think overall it's a little easier to defend it with Speed Racer, and we kind of didn't have a long talk with that, but I think here it's hard to stand by these choices.
Well, luckily I don't remember any of it in Jupiter Ascending, so you should be good to go. I might be wrong. I might have totally forgotten. There's probably something super bad.
There's like a 10-minute just fucking Tintin, like, Dr. Seuss Asian scene done by fucking Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
And you're just like, ooh, which house? Okay, guys, sorry, but I can't keep doing this. So yeah, but, and here's the thing, and this isn't a defense, but I would say, I think, at least this film then didn't make money, I guess, because then, which is why I think maybe if this had been really big, maybe we had seen more of a trend of this. But at least this film didn't make money, and so I guess that's kind of good.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes down to it, they could have changed.
Yeah.
And they could have made it better.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
And they did.
They chose not to.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing.
It is, yeah. Anything
but
else?
I like the Attack of the Clones scene where they're driving the car on the space highway. So
that does feel very Attack of the Clones.
It does. It's extremely Attack of the Clones.
Anyway, anything else to say about this? Because we're gonna neck break turn back into talking about things we liked in this movie. So,
are we gonna talk about things we like? Because I had something.
Then go. That's why this is any last thoughts.
I thought about this time that I didn't think about the first time.
Uh-huh.
The end of the timeline.
Yes.
I really like that the speech patterns are different.
What do you mean?
I like the dialect that they speak in. That they have these words that are, like, have replaced other words.
Oh, yeah, I get it. Like in the future.
I think that's really, I don't know. It's just something about it, it's, like, really cool to me.
I don't know how accurate that is to the book. I'm assuming pretty
it's probably
accurate.
I think that is in there.
Yeah. But yeah, that's fun. I like that story is pretty cool. I like you pointed this out, and then you pointed this out the first time we saw it. Hugo Weaving in that storyline has a very interesting design, but you cannot hear whatever the fuck he's saying, which I honestly kind of like. Because it does make it feel almost more kind of like otherworldly. Because that's really... You're never clear if that's going on in his head or if that's actually happening.
Right.
And that's also really the only story that has like supernatural elements to it. Everything else is pretty grounded in reality, or at least the reality they create. So...
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a good argument to be made that he's just kind of crazy.
Uh-huh.
Because he listens to the prophecy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's so focused on that But even when he doesn't follow it, he still survives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like magic isn't real.
Yeah.
This guy's just insane.
Yeah. Well, and then he also, like, sort of, like, sees the other timelines, but everyone kind of sort of sees the other timelines.
Everyone feels the other.
Yeah.
Like,
That's a good way of putting it.
They recognize that they've existed somewhere else, I guess.
I really liked that the guy just died and then shows up later. Like how he just falls off a building and then you don't see him.
Which guy?
In the new Soul, where he falls.
Oh yeah, you just have no idea how he survives that.
Like I guess he went to the Darth Maul school of surviving really far falls. Like it was easier for him. He didn't get cut in half, so he's fine. Right. That dude's pretty OP though.
He is very OP.
Yeah. Yes? Anything else to say about the movie at all?
Not that I can think of.
What's our time at?
Well, it is interesting that we talked so long about, these issues with race.
Uh-huh.
And then a lot of the movie is themed around how that's bad.
Yeah.
But then they still have this in their movie.
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah, that's...
Did you guys not see?
Yeah.
And again, that's how I can understand...
It's just weird.
Yeah. I can understand how... their intention... If they had said more about it, maybe their intention...
I think you're giving them too much...
No, I'm not. But, can I finish?
Yeah.
If they had said, oh, well, we meant it like this, and we meant it like this, beyond just, oh, it transcends race, it transcends gender. Because that's a pretty cop-out answer.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cop-out answer. And, like, if they had even said it's supposed to be this, like, future race thing, that at least might... It still isn't good. There's no way they could defend... There's no way... I don't think there's any way they could have said what happens in the movie and made it okay. There's nothing they could have said that made it okay. But if they had at least said, like, oh, we meant the intention to show that it was bad, but even if they went as far to say, and we fucked up, and this is wrong, that would be something. But it really does, their very quick kind of brush off of that really is what kind of makes it worse, and really is what then makes it hard to defend even the intentions of that.
Because it's like, you can see...
Yeah.
Based on the rest of the theming of this movie, that, they're trying to set up all these stories about how hating people because of who they are is bad.
Yes.
And it's like, that makes this even worse.
Yeah.
Because you just didn't try. I guess.
Exactly. It's like you could have gone that extra step to actually do that.
Maybe they ran out of money.
Knowing them. Speaking of, actually, here, can you look up the budget versus what they made? So apparently this movie exists because of Natalie Portman, though.
Classic.
So in 2005, while on the London set for V for Vendetta, Natalie Portman gave a copy of the original novel to Lana Wachowski, who became deeply interested in it. A year later, both Wachowski siblings wrote the first draft of the screenplay. Tom Tyler, a friend of the Wachowskis, who was invited to co-direct several substantial sequences. Okay. So, hold on. So...
Yes.
I can't.
What?
I can't defend this anymore, I guess. Because, originally, apparently, instead of Duna Bay as Somni 451, originally it was supposed to be Natalie Portman as Somni 451. So...
I think if it was that, it would have been very Ghost in the Shell. I don't think that would have been...
You don't think it would have... She would be doing face?
I don't think so. I think it would have just... Everyone would have been white.
Even still... Well, I guess if everyone had been white... That's still bad,
It's still bad.
It's still bad.
Bad. I don't know. Ghost in the Shell everyone was fine with.
You totally weren't. So I guess
Donald
that
Glover was in that movie. Rest in peace, dude.
that would have been now 2 roles that Natalie Portman would have been taking from actors of color. This and Annihilation, but
that one, the Annihilation one's weird.
yeah.
That's just I don't get. Such a
But then she turned down not because she would be playing a Korean woman, but because she got pregnant. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That needs to
So.
stop. Hey, guess what?
What is he
Fucking
doing?
delete this.
Wait, what
That was crazy.
He's had like double jointed shoulders.
So he's like turning his shoulder like inside out, and his I don't know. That was
that's
crazy.
not. I thought there was like some like porn showing up on there or
No.
something.
No, he would put that in the scary. I don't know why he didn't put that in the scary. It belongs.
Well,
So,
here we
yeah,
go.
I can't. I don't know.
So yeah, that's not great, guys. Not
It's
great.
Like, I get why white people get cast to play the Asian roles because you want a big name.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like,
Just don't.
just fucking put them somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, just put Woody Harrelson in a cameo. You're good.
Yeah.
That's all he does now.
Yeah.
Just make him a secondary character who shoots himself in the first third of the movie,
Yeah.
and you're done.
And you're done. Anyway, so read off that budget. The budget, not how much.
the budget was
they made.
140 million. Oh,
140 million.
I think so.
Okay, so it is Cloud Atlas is one of the most expensive independent films ever made.
And then
How
we
much
see-
did they
double
make?
check.
It's
$9.6 million.
Holy
it's
shit!
like one of the worst.
I didn't know it was that. Holy shit!
Yeah, it's not like Scott Pilgrim where it's like they probably made it up on DVDs.
They're never making this back. It's God, dude.
Really, it's one of the biggest. Like,
Holy shit. Okay. Wow. Ooh, guys. Ooh. Yeah, that's... I guess, if anything, it shows their actions weren't rewarded. Like, and much like a lot of the endings of these stories, maybe that's the bittersweet ending here, is that maybe this movie did deserve to tank. Maybe this movie did deserve to not even make a 14th of its budget. Because... yeah, that's... wow. That is a lot. Anyway, somebody talk while I look for more fun facts.
Yeah, that's really, 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 really bad. That's... oh.
well, if it makes you feel any better, Ghost in the Shell cost $110 million to make, and it made 40.
No, Kyle, that doesn't really make me feel better. If anything, it makes it feel like we're going in a worse direction.
White Halle Berry looks so weird.
Yeah, that one's... I don't know. I kind of like it. I think it's... like, and again, I mean, that's the thing, is that... really, when looking at it, there's... one main Asian actor. There's another one. There was that other guy who opens the door, and I guess is in the other ones. There's 3 black people, 2 men, 1 woman, 1 black woman, and a whole bunch of white people. And, like, if you had maybe done the cast themselves be a rainbow of colors, and you had all of them do a bunch of different faces throughout, then at least maybe, yeah, again, you could use the art. Because the fact is, White Halle Berry isn't around as much as any of the Asian
it's also
characters.
it's a weird compromise because it's like they cast mostly white actors because
Uh-huh.
most of the stories take place in like San Francisco or London.
Yeah.
But it's like if you're gonna do the makeup part, then
Yeah.
it really doesn't matter who you cast.
Yeah, exactly. So you could have had white, like,
So
and you can't say then, oh, we were afraid it looked weird, because it fucking looks weird in the future.
128 million. My bad.
128 million?
Yeah. No.
That's how much it cost, or how much it made?
How much it cost.
Okay.
It still only made like 9.4.
It's still not great.
Opening weekend.
Ugh.
That looked really expensive. It
Oh,
was like a really
yeah, it was.
expensive movie. Why do studios let the Wachowskis make movies if they all fucking flop?
Because The Matrix made
Because
$1
the Matrix
billion.
made more money than God, so...
The Matrix made that much money?
yeah,
How
dude.
much money did The Matrix make?
Let's find out.
It only costs like $40 million. I think.
Tom Hanks claims that this is one of the few films that of his own that he likes to rewatch. So I can understand because he's not in it that much.
$63 million, and domestic it made $171 million.
Nice.
So that's why.
That's
worldwide.
Wow, you're really just.
I mean, why even?
You okay there,
Fucking shit
Inspector
up in
Crusoe?
Kyle's room.
Worldwide, it made $463 million.
Wow.
Like $500 million off of
Yeah.
that for a $60 million budget.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
And there were
Really?
3 of them.
Yeah. And there's like merchandise and DVD sales and like people still
It pushed DVDs like crazy,
yeah,
dude.
Yeah. People
Everyone bought that.
Yeah,
DVD.
exactly. It was like The Matrix. You got to get it on DVD.
It was like Avatar,
Mhm.
except Avatar sucked on Blu-ray.
Ayo. Yeah, this was developed for 4 years. This was produced. Wow.
We're still on Cloud Atlas.
Yeah.
Are we
Why
still
is
on?
it called Cloud Outlet? Cloud
Because it's the Cloud Atlas Sextant. It's the name of the
I
thing.
know why, but it only appears in one other storyline.
Well, it's also like plays and all of them. So sounds cool. Give me a break.
This was not. I don't know. I didn't love this movie.
Well, the Wachowskis put in $7 million. $20 million came from the German government, which is weird because like they kind of called Germany out a little bit. Well, okay,
Yeah.
one of our co-hosts
I'll
has
be right
left
back.
the room, so
I'll be back.
I guess they, in true, cannot stand to talk about this film anymore. You got anything, or are we both just gonna?
Sorry, I was looking for Jupiter Ascending stats.
Okay, we'll get to that next week though. We still
I just
got.
wanted to see.
So we're at 110, so we could essentially stop whenever.
Fuck, dude, that one didn't make any money either.
Yeah.
They made their money back, but
That's better than this.
it's 176 and its worldwide was 183.
Worldwide what? So I'm thinking we can try to record. I don't know. Anything else to say? Like good, bad, anything?
Anything else to say?
Yes.
I don't know. It's like I'm trying to figure out how to describe the thing. It's like the Neo Soul timeline
Uh-huh.
as a concept I disagree with.
Uh-huh.
But in action, I really can't even say that they look Asian.
Mhm.
Like it doesn't.
Mhm.
So it's like it's just really strange.
Yeah.
Because it's like I disagree with this,
Yeah.
but watching it, I could understand what you were going for. I'm not saying I do,
Yeah.
but I think that I might know what you.
Which
were
is
trying
why
to
I
do.
was saying if they had talked more about their choices, and maybe they do, but if they had talked more about their choices beyond the film transcends race, then
Yeah, it's hard to make that argument
Yeah.
when the whole film's about that.
exactly.
When the first story is about slavery.
Yeah.
And all the stories have stuff like that about being a slave.
Or being
or
gay.
Being gay.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then this movie doesn't get flack for male actors playing female characters and female characters playing male actors.
But no one...
Because you can't do that,
Yeah.
because they're both trans. So obviously, they didn't have a problem with it, so it's pretty hard to argue that it's offensive, because obviously they were okay with it.
Yeah.
So it's like, that exists in this weird space, where it's like, theoretically it's offensive, but you can't say it's offensive, because like...
Well, theoretically, I would say the only actor where it's a man playing a woman that could be considered offensive is Hugo Weaving in the Jim Broadbent story. Because that can be kind of seen as maybe a little transphobic, because it's a man playing a woman and it's very, like, broady, like, rude
Actually,
woman.
that statement is transphobic. Now what? I've turned it around on you.
But I guess it's not, because they both did it and they're both trans. So,
Right.
like, as two trans women saying, that's fine, then I guess...
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat that argument.
Yeah.
There's no argument.
But, okay, but then again, they don't speak for all trans
That's what
women.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like, if someone else were to say, I don't agree with that, then there's an argument to be
Sure.
made. But I don't think any of us can say that's offensive.
No.
Because obviously they've
Yeah.
outplayed us on that one. You
Yeah.
got me, Wachowskis.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, is that that's fine. And if that was its only problem, that would be one thing. Like, if these guys had made fucking Dallas Buyers Club, then that would be one thing. But they didn't. They made this movie, and it has Yellowface
Dallas
in it.
Eaters Club, am I right?
Ayo. This movie was dubbed the worst movie of 2012 by Time Magazine. So,
What?
yeah.
I'm sure that a lot of bad movies came out in
2012? Yeah, dude. But I don't know. I think Isabel's just gone.
Yes, worse than the Avengers.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I like that everyone.
Worse than The Hobbit.
Yeah. I like that everyone kind of got to play a hero and a villain except Hugo Weaving and fucking Hugh Grant.
That's the nature of Hugo Weaving, isn't it?
Yeah, and Hugh Grant, because Hugh Grant's an asshole. I remember the first time we watched this. Here's a little anecdote to end us off. When Hugh Grant has the line,
Cool.
"If all female journalists looks like you, I might be more for this whole women's movement." And I audibly said, "Oh, fuck you." I don't know.
Say it again.
Any final
Delete
thoughts?
This.
I don't.
Les Mis came out in 2012.
I like the Soylent Green joke and how that's actually foreshadowing.
Sorry, someone's
I don't
being an
know.
asshole on Discord.
I don't have anything else to say. Do you? I kind of.
I feel like we just got burnt out on talking about this thing instead of all the like really cool stuff about the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do genuinely really like this movie.
I do too. I enjoyed it. I like that it's non-linear, kind of, and how it's overlapping with each other. I think the way it's structured is really good. I think this film is underrated, but, I mean, it's hard to defend it when it has... It's hard to say, hey, watch this, when it has this stuff in it. Oh. Our co-host has returned.
Hi guys.
From somewhere.
I went to the bathroom.
Okay. I don't know. Any final thoughts, I guess?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's got some cool action. Oh, dude falls off building, fucking gets wrecked
It's
real
great.
fast. It's great. Because you expect when he gets thrown off by British Tom Hanks. And when he falls,
That's my favorite
you
character.
expect it's gonna like cut away before he hits the ground, like most movies do. But instead he hits the ground and he
A tube
dies.
of toothpaste when he
Yeah.
hits the
Yeah.
concrete.
Well, I remember that really shocked me.
Yeah,
'Cause
I'm sure.
After seeing like The Matrix, I
Uh-huh.
expected it to be a cutaway or
Sure.
anything, and then it was just not. It was just like a really real dude hitting the ground,
What are you doing?
and so I was like, shocking. Shocking.
Shocking.
What if Sean Connery did in this movie?
What if Sean Connery had been every Asian character in this movie?
I was gonna post something, but I didn't want you guys to see what I was about to fucking scroll through to find it.
What?
Honestly, it was gonna be a dark time ahead. All right, we'll go there later.
Anyway, guys, so we're what? We're almost at 120. So if we talk for
Can we not
2 more hours, we can be the length of this film.
It's only 2:39.
It's 250.
It's 172 minutes.
No, that's including credits though. Credits is
Oh,
like 15
okay.
minutes of that movie.
I guess if you don't include credits, that's fair. Anyway, I think.
I'm sorry, furious typing.
Okay. No, I think this film is still really like. Well, I guess I kind of said this film. There's a lot of stuff I like about it. I think it is beautifully directed. I think everything. What?
The directing really didn't move me at all.
What about when he punched the guy's tooth out?
What about when he punched the guy's tooth out and it looked like a Kingsman shot
Okay.
and he dropped in the beer?
Okay.
I don't know. I think overall, this film has a lot of sweeping. You're both just You're the worst. I need new co-hosts.
Listen, this guy's posting dudes dislocating his shoulder. He's like, no, it's fine. That doesn't need to go in NSFW.
I think a lot of the shots have very kind of sweeping, like, wide shots, and I think the fact that this takes place over not just, like, a lot of different areas, but over time. I think the CGI looks pretty good still for being over 5 years old now at this point. I think a lot of the action is pretty well choreographed and looks very different from The Matrix. I think this is really well directed. I think this is, and it really, again, shows their range as directors from going from, like, Bound to Speed Racer to this, and how they all look very different. I think all the time periods look... Yes?
Yeah.
I think all the time periods look very... Stop. I think all the time periods look very different, but also have very similar aspects to them. I mean, no, I think this is well directed.
Okay.
But like I said, I mean, there's a lot of stuff I like about this film, but it's hard to praise it with the stuff that's going on. So, I mean, anything else? Yes? Kyle?
I just think about JonTron. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
It's just him trying to explain something. He's like, it's a shitty game, but I had fun, okay?
Yeah, so, you know, watch it or don't. This is the Wachowski month. Next week we're gonna talk about fucking Mila Kunis fucks a dog, I guess. So
We're watching Jupiter Ascending.
no, we're not. We're gonna watch Sense8. We're gonna watch all of Sense8. Well, that's the one thing I was gonna point out is that I feel like, though outside of the Matrix movies, most of their films seem pretty self-contained, but I feel like Sense8 is very similar to this, just because of the fact that it's like the 8 people kind of connected and stuff. Again, never watched it. I really don't know what it's like or what it's about, but I don't know. I think Sense8 kind of feels similar with this, and I think maybe the success of Sense8 almost is maybe taking that cultness that could have been going to Cloud Atlas and is then going to that. But I don't know. I mean, that has Duna Bay in it, so.
It's the only other American thing she's in, so.
Alright, guys. That's...
Weirdly,
Yes.
fun fact about Duna Bay.
Yes.
I believe she's been naked in every movie she's ever been in.
Nice. There was actually less nudity in this than I remember.
Oh. Yeah, it's not that big.
It's not a lot of it.
Steamy sex scene there.
But it's really short. I remember it going on for like longer than.
When did you see this movie? How old were you?
I was 5. I was a little 5-year-old.
One time my parents showed me Homeland when I was 8, and there was like a sex scene in there, and my dad covered my eyes.
Like there's not a lot of nudity. I mean, Duna Bay definitely gets more naked than anyone else. I thought I remembered there was like.
I watched Harold and Kumar with my parents.
Nice.
The bottomless.
Bottomless party.
God.
Yeah, there's less, and it's not as violent as I remember it. Like, I mean, there's
no,
this,
it's just like it's brutal all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's very like quickly gory and brutal, and then it like goes back to not.
Like when he saws that guy's head off.
Yeah, when he saws the guy's throat. When
It's
he saws
all in
Superman's
that
throat.
final timeline, man.
Yeah.
He's getting garroted with the fucking thing, or
Yeah,
I think we
and all of them get shot.
ended it.
Yes. You look like you got a page boy haircut there.
A page. Fuck you.
Well, I'm sorry.
she
Wow.
was scared.
Yeah, later, boy. It wasn't good enough
Okay,
for her.
Enough of that.
Okay, guys. It's...
So anyway, you want to listen to more, not really hot takes, because like everyone's already talked about the thing we just talked about. So, you know, if anything, if you want more
The coldest
takes,
possible takes.
if you want the coldest rehash of hot takes from 7 years ago, 6 years ago, 6 years ago, then check us out on Real Unknown on YouTube and SoundCloud. Follow us on Facebook at Real Unknown and Twitter at Real-Unknown excuse me. And want to email us telling us your thoughts about Yellowface and your favorite movies that have Yellowface in them.
Okay.
Can we have a poll? We're gonna start a
Okay.
Facebook poll on
Yes.
if Laurence Olivier blackface is tasteful or not. So make sure to fucking check a yes or a no on that one.
Can we have a poll that says that Robert Downey Jr. Doing blackface is okay because Jamie Foxx said it was fine? Like, can we have that poll? He thought it was funny, so it must not be offensive.
Oh my god.
Email us at realonknownpod@gmail.com.
You gotten a single email.
I'll have you know I've gotten many emails telling me every time I upload a video.
And every time you get copyright
I get copyrighted, which is every single episode.
Me too.
So, anyway, next week we will...
Your eyes.
What? Next week we will be ending this Wachowski month of June.
Save the best for last.
We have saved the best for last. Wait, we've already watched Speed Racer. We will be watching Jupiter Ascending. So, anyway, guys, and I'm glad we're not even gonna cut any of this out at this point because you know what? Let's just fuck it. So, it's been real.
remember the channel.
Ah! Go back! Go back!
Jeez.
You speak the true.
Oh my god! Dad's in Cloud Atlas!
I'm in Cloud Atlas! What's Cloud Atlas? Sometimes small true, different than the big true.